Hi there BookTube, it's Evelina here, and I'm going to wrap up a few of the books that I've read recently. If you've been watching my channel, you will know that this month is a ridiculously big TBR month, and I'm not holding out hope of completing this TBR. I think it's over 30 books. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's a really busy month. It's my daughter's birthday. There's all sorts of other things going on. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my hardest to complete it, but if I don't, I really want to go quite hardcore next month into non-fiction November. So I think any stragglers from this month I'm going to complete next month. I may not do a Snakes and Ladders picks my TBR, or maybe I'll do it to pick my non-fiction November books and pick a certain number from that, but I think it could be a double rollover. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. I don't know why I've waffled off. Anyway, so I have got through a couple of books already this month, and I've also veered off into a book that I'm currently reading, which I'll talk about at the end because I think it's on track to being a 5-star read. But the first book I want to talk about is one that I rolled over actually from last month, which is My So-Called Bollywood Life by Nisha Sharma. I really like the front cover of this. I thought it sounded like a really interesting premise. It's about our main character, Winnie, and she is coming up to 18. She's a few months off her 18th birthday, and she's always had this thing in her family. Her family's Pandit, which I believe is a bit like an astrologer, or maybe someone who sort of they're sort of mystic. I don't know, I'm not 100% sure. I should really look into that. But he has said that her future is that she is going to have met her partner for life, the love of her life, her soulmate, before her 18th birthday, and that he's going to buy her this silver bracelet, and his name's going to begin with the letter R. So she's been with this boy Raj for ages, for years, for like 3 years. He's bought her this bracelet, and then they've broken up. And in the summer she's asked to go on a break. She just doesn't feel like it's working between them anymore, but rather than sort of taking the break that she thought, he goes off and ends up kissing someone else and becoming boyfriends with someone else. And even though now he's like out back to get her, he thinks that they can get back together, this has sort of made her realise that he's not the one for her. But she is desperately worried because of this prediction. She believes in this, her family believes in this, and it's sort of part of their sort of family culture because of what's happened with her parents, and how the Pandit had these sort of future premonitions for them when they were younger. I mean, it's a real big thing in their family, and it's causing her some distress. And there is another boy that she is interested in, but his name begins with D. It's quite near to her birthday. They've never been on a date. He's not bought her a bracelet. All these different things. And there's also an element in this of her school life. She really wants to go off and work in film. She's super interested in film, and it's a passion she shares, especially for Bollywood movies, of which loads are mentioned in here. She has a Bollywood movie blog. She's watching them all the time. She sort of has these dreams, these recurring dreams, in where a famous Bollywood star talks to her. Her and her dad bond over this. It's a passion between them, and she's desperate to go and do this sort of Bollywood film studies course at college, and yet Raj was never very supportive of that. And it's just a lot of different things we're following here, but really it's about sort of knowing yourself and the things that are important to you. Perhaps they change, and people change, and sticking to your guns. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really good, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. The next book was the one that Jamie picked me on my TBR, which is Sweet Filthy Boy by Christine Lauren. I thought this was really good. It was a really strong romance. I was a bit nervous because I have read quite a few Christina Lauren sort of standalone books, and I found them quite good, and I have enjoyed them. But I did start, I think it's Beautiful Bastard. I did start that one, and I just thought it was horrendous. I really just couldn't get on board with it. So I think I DNF'd that one halfway through because I just didn't like it at all. So I was a bit worried that maybe it was series that I didn't like by this writing duo, but actually I really enjoyed this. It it was about our main character, her and two friends. They're going to blow off some steam before she goes to business school, and they go to Vegas, and she ends up having this amazing sexual experience with this man. And I say sexual experience because it really is an experience. And she's got quite a lot of problems in her home life, especially with her father, who is not very kind, and not in a physical way, but just mentally quite abusive and very, very, very strict. And yeah, and she has these problems with him, and she feels like she's letting him down all the time. He's the one that's pushing for this business school. She'd previously been going to be a dancer, but things have happened, which you find about in the book, so I don't want to spoil it. And they have this one night stand, and it turns into something more, and it results in this summer in Paris, and it's just really good. I really liked everything in here, and I really liked how sometimes things don't turn out how you expect, but they're still good, and this sort of forging a relationship after a one night stand and how difficult that can be. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I definitely recommend it. If you like romance, if you like Christina Lauren, if you like sort of a grown-up book that tackles grown-up topics and relationships, then this is definitely a good one, and I gave it 4 stars. And then the last book, well, the last book but one, because the other one I'm going to talk about is one I'm currently reading, that I want to mention is Evelina by Frances Burney. I really had high hopes for this because people say that it reads very Austen-esque. It's that sort of Austen feel to it, and it did. But I was halfway through this and I just didn't want to read anymore. I really didn't. I just didn't want to read, and I ended up DNFing it after halfway through. I think I could have ploughed on. I was listening to it on audio, and that was really good. It had sort of a bit of a cast feel to it. But we've got our main character, and it's all written in letters to and from mainly our main character and her sort of adoptive father, who, the man, she's his ward, and he's a vicar. She's been living with him, and it is a social commentary of the time, which is very interesting, but just didn't have enough for me. And I did find some of the people a bit whiny, and I didn't like yeah, I just found it a bit boring. There wasn't enough about these characters to really make me care for them and root for them. I found her a little bit weak, and yeah, DNF'd. So sorry. So I know a lot of people like this, but it just wasn't for me, and I just didn't want to waste my time with something that I wasn't loving. Now I want to talk to you about the book I'm currently reading, but hold on, I've got to go and get it. Okay, so I went to the Cheltenham Literature Festival recently, and I picked up quite a lot of books. And this year, I go every year, and this year I decided that there was a lot of talks going on that I didn't know the authors. Some of them I sort of heard of the books. This particular book I'd heard about on Mercedes' channel, but if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that me and Mercedes, although we're friends, we have very different tastes in books. And often, I used to joke often with Mercedes that if she liked a book, I generally wouldn't like it, and that was often the case, not always, but often. And so this particular book she'd loved, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure. And often the non-fiction she reads is much more, I hate to say highbrow, but it is, and she just has different taste. And so I wasn't sure, but this author was talking at the festival, and I thought, I'm going to go along to the talk. I like the idea of this book. I think the topic's really interesting. I want to go and hear a bit more, and often these talks can either push you one way or the other. I'm either going to desperately want to read this book or not. The book is Skint Estate by Cash Carraway, and Cash Carraway was amazing to listen to. She read excerpts from this book, and I just think she is an amazing human being. And she talks about how she is unashamed, you know, she doesn't have shame, and how shame often comes about from having this sort of family that if you do something, you feel shame because you feel like you've embarrassed them or done something that brings shame on them. And she doesn't have this sort of same family unit. And she talks about her life, and this really is about her life. It's about a snippet of her life from when she got pregnant, and then how she is a single mum, and she is working class, and the things that brings with it, and the things that she's done, and the things that she has noticed, and the things that she struggles with. And I just found her incredibly strong, and there is a lot for me to learn in here because you know, a lot of this is just so foreign to me, and I'm ashamed that I don't know more about people that are living on benefits and people that are living having to do the things that Cash does or has done, and the way that we perceive often people that are different to ourselves in whatever way. And I just think it's very well written. It's got a nice dose of humour in there, which really sort of helps to lighten what is quite a heavy topic. You know, it's quite gritty. It's a gritty topic. There's lots of grittiness in here. You know, Cash worked in a peep show while she was pregnant, and she's worked as a stripper, and she's contemplated taking a Gumtree ad, taking up you know, someone's offering a Gumtree ad to share their bedroom and share their bed because she's desperately needed somewhere to live because she couldn't get on you know, couldn't get a private letting because of her credit rating, even though she had the money to pay, and all these things that have sort of been against her and you know, meant trickled, you know, these things that have forced her to not be able to get where she wants, which is just desperately to have a home for her and her daughter, a stable place for them to live. And I just think it's going, you know, well, it is, I'm nearly finished. It's a brilliant book and very incredibly well written. And I am slightly embarrassed to say I went and got this signed, and I was extremely emotional, and I don't know why. I don't know whether it is because this woman I just think is someone that is going to be really important, and is someone whose voice is really important to hear. And whether it was her story of how you would do anything for your child, and that side, I just think, yeah, so I nearly cried. I was very emotional when I met her. So how embarrassing, and I'm sorry, Cash Gallery is not going to be watching this, but I do apologise to her if I got a bit emotional. And I think everyone should read this. Everyone should read this, and I'm sure this is going to be my next 5-star of the year. So and I definitely recommend listening to it on audio because Cash narrates it herself, and I am loving listening to it that way. And she reads with exactly the right intonation and expression for her story in her book, so it really does add an extra layer to it. So definitely recommend this, but keep an eye out. Maybe there will be a complete video on this, maybe it will appear in my wrap up for the month, but keep an eye out on my Goodreads or wherever else. I think this is going to be 5 stars. I mean, things could change, but I don't think they are. But if you take one book away from this that you should read, it's definitely this one. Anyway, that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.